about her new book, Blockchain, Tethered AI. I just wanted to mention Karen's awesome and is new to our community through the NWA Life Works Here initiative. So Karen was one of those fun winners of that big program where they give you some cash and a bike to move here to Northwest Arkansas and be part of our tech world. So we're really thrilled to invite Karen up here to speak about artificial intelligence and learn a little bit more about how to work with blockchain to tether the AI so it doesn't take over and turn into a Terminator situation. At least that's how I think about it. So I'd like to welcome Karen Kilroy to the stage to learn more about AI.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, and I need to give the Innovation Center, the Center for Innovation, a plug. The Fayetteville Public Library is amazing. If you're anywhere in this area and you have not visited the Fayetteville Public Library, you should. And make sure you take a tour of the Center for Innovation. You'll find that there are so many delightful surprises there to keep you busy and entertained and push your skills beyond what you thought you could do. So tonight, what I'd like to talk about is something that it seems like it's becoming really increasingly popular all of a sudden, and that's artificial intelligence. And that seems like it's good. Artificial intelligence is capable of doing things that we can't do as human beings because it can digest massive amounts of information and make sense of it, a little bit more than what we can do. The problem is it's really so good at this that it's starting to get away from the people who are programming it. And of course, then there's always the financial aspect of people who invest in projects wanting the project to be done as quickly as possible. So that complicates everything. And that means that the programmers are pushed to not necessarily worry about what's going to happen long term. They're racing to their deadline to get their finished product out. And so that problem of it really couldn't be presented at the investor level, at the executive level of, okay, now we need to spend more money to harness this thing that we're spending money to build. And so instead of taking that approach in trying to let people know, hey, this is a problem, what the other authors and I did was we took the approach of addressing software engineers like ourselves and saying, we all agree that this is a problem. Why are we building something that's a problem when we can fix it now and be proactive so it never becomes a problem? And so that's what prompted me to approach O'Reilly Media just about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, with the idea to do this book, Blockchain, Tethered AI. And we'll talk about this a little bit more as we go along. But first I want to make sure that everyone understands what artificial intelligence is. It's different than like a spreadsheet or a word processor, other accounting program, other things that we're used to using, because it's always there. It doesn't sleep. There's models, is what they call the live artificial intelligence, and it gets trained and it gets tested, and it's an experiment, like a science experiment. And they try to test it and make it better and make it faster and make it meet its goals. But then it's always running. And right now, there's really no good way to keep track of it. And we'll get into that more. But artificial intelligence, it's a real intelligence. It actually can learn and make sense out of things that you haven't told it. But it's been artificially generated by human beings. So where can you find AI? Does anybody have any recent encounters with artificial intelligence where they knew, hey, this seems like AI? Well, these are some of the places where you'll find it. while I was writing the book, it's looking over my shoulder, right? So what is it you're going to do? How is it you're going to, because it's doing an autocorrect, predict in Google Docs. Has anybody ever seen that where it guesses what your next words are going to be? So that happens a lot. There's the artificial intelligence. There's a chat bot that we're going to take a look at tonight. Everybody on the internet's been talking about it, GPT-3, and it's it'll give you a peek inside of how artificial intelligence works, because you can talk to this one. Artificial intelligence models are embedded in robots, in self-driving cars, and there's been, there's some very good things about self-driving cars, and there's also a lot of bad things about self-driving cars. You can't really accomplish it, so it's been in the news a lot. Social media, there's artificial intelligence is always lurking, watching what you're doing on social media, and it makes recommendations to you. And that's how, somehow you don't know how this friend from 7th grade all of a sudden now is talking to you about something. Well, it's because the artificial intelligence decided that you should talk to that person from 7th grade, and they put you together. So it's actually doing things in the background all the time. Does anybody ever announce that, hey, we've got artificial intelligence? Not usually. It's usually something that they say, oh, well, we need to cut our budget, like in the case of 911 in Austin, Texas. We don't have enough people to answer the 911 calls. So we are going to put a 911 operator that's artificial intelligence that will answer the calls. No one will be able to tell. And we're going to call it Officer AI, and I'm not kidding you. They did that. And so that was in the news about a year ago. I haven't followed up to see what the result of it was, but to me, as a human being, I really don't want to call a computer officer. That's not really what I'm all about. And so that really bothered me. Banking, there's a lot of AI used in banking. And one of the things that was in the news was there was a major bank that had to turn its AI off that was used for loans because it was biased. And the reason it was biased, they found out, well, why are no women or people of color getting loans from this bank? Why is it only white males of a certain age, certain income, and everybody else is being ignored despite their payment history? And so they started looking into it and found out, well, it's because it was trained based on years of bad decisions. And so it was given biased data. And so the biased data then caused the decisions to be bad. And it went really bad in the wrong direction. Usually when these things start going bad, they go really bad. And it becomes obvious to everybody that there's a big problem and it has to be shut off. Airports use artificial intelligence when they're using it to scan your face now in some areas when you travel internationally. So you don't have to, the agent doesn't have to look at your passport, they just know who you are. And then some airports, it's automatically scanning everyone's faces all the time. That's been controversial. Because, of course, it's a big invasion of privacy to have something look at your face. But there are massive databases of what they call face prints out there that have been harvested from internet data. And they're in use by large companies that are in the business of selling this type of interrogation and I guess where they're actually watching people, investigation where they're following everybody around, and there's stories about that in my other book. I've got 2 other books. I've got one called AI and the Law, and then one called Blockchain as a Service. And these are short books. These are only like 80 pages, and you can read those for free on the website that's on your bookmark. But they have real detailed stories about the misuses of AI and some problems that are being created. Artwork generators, this is one of the biggest things lately. Everybody's playing with new artwork, and we're going to take a look at that. Some of the next things we'll do is we're going to take a look at what the latest trends are with the artwork and the chat, and then we'll go into, okay, what are some of the biggest problems with AI, some of the ways that it could really go wrong. Then we'll talk about how to solve it. So a model is an AI software program. So that's just a term to know. Machine learning is the process that they use to train AI models. So it's just like a big stupid baby until you teach it anything. You know, it's like, hello, hello, hello. I think, you know, there used to be a cartoon like that where a little chick would be born, hello, hello. Are you my mother? But that's what it's like when you first start it. And then it takes a lot of time to train it, but you can also run it automatically and have it, it can train itself while everybody else is asleep, so that's a little scary. So these are some of the things that people have been really talking about lately in a big way. This Chat GPT, first I'm going to back up one more slide. There's a company called OpenAI that is, it's kind of misleading to everyone who knows much about computer software, because open usually means that I can look at the code. Everybody can look at the code. Oh, this is a big love fest, and we can all share the code, and we can use it for free, and we can build our own versions. That's not what this is. It started that way and became a for-profit company. It's very much a black box. No one knows what's inside. It's proprietary. So when you talk to it, or if you use it to write your essay for school, you really don't know at all where that information's coming from. So I was chatting with ChatGPT. This is just the last week or so this has become available. And I said, should I trust you? And it says, I do not have personal experiences or beliefs that could influence the information I provide. So it's, okay, you know, sure, okay, maybe I should trust you then. You sound like pretty unbiased. However, users can consider the potential biases that may be inherent in my training, data, and algorithms, right? I operate in a black box, meaning that the processes and calculations used to generate my responses are not visible. Okay, so I should trust you then. It sounds a little shady. Maybe I should evaluate you, but it's not practical to evaluate me because I've been trained on mass amounts of data. It mentioned a terabyte, at least terabytes of data that it's been trained on. So I thought, well, let me ask it something. I wanted to find out how old the data was. And so I thought, let me just see how old the data was. You know, I thought, you know, just like you'd say, well, is it, you know, what's the big news today? I just said, who's the president? To see what year it thought it was. And it says, I'm sorry, but I'm not able to provide information on current events. I don't have the ability to browse the internet or access real-time information. And it's all based on data that I was trained on, which is limited. I apologize. And so I said, well, how many presidents have there been? He says, there's been 46 presidents, and the current president is Joe Biden. I said, wait a minute, this sounds not right. I said, I thought you said you didn't know who the president is. Did you lie? Request timed out. I'm not kidding. Request timed out. And it didn't let me ask it anything after that. It was done. And then one of the things it had said to me earlier was ultimately, it is up to the user to determine the accuracy and usefulness of the information I provide. So, has anybody ever seen these little robot dogs anywhere? They're cute. Have you get to play with one? Yeah. What did you think of it? Yeah. Yap, 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 yeah. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cute when I saw one. I saw them at South by Southwest, and they had a big pen with them. And you could roll a ball, and it would go get the ball. It's like, man, that's kind of cool. And I was watching the people. Some of the people were getting really attached to them. And it just kind of thought, you know, that's really easy to like put feelings onto something that isn't real, like, you know, give it a persona and personality. And I do it all the time with, you know, everything, my laptop, my car. And when you get to where it's AI and it can actually do things, that's a little dangerous to treat it like a person. This is a new app that is everybody has been using it lately. Has anybody seen Lenza on the phones? Yeah, it's pretty cool. I saw someone on LinkedIn that I'm friends with, and this fella is across the world in Russia, and he, I don't know if he's in Russia actually, he's in that area, but he put his picture up that he had done, and everybody was just having a fit. Oh, I want to be in your band. Oh, you look like you're in a movie. I think he looks like Steve Jobs. You know, it's like he had good genes to begin with, but when he did this Lenza business, it really made him look really cool. So this artwork is all being done by artificial intelligence. And you'll notice every once in a while there'll be what they call an artifact. It's something that just doesn't fit. And you'll see that as we go into OpenAI's other project, which is DALL-E. Has anybody seen DALL-E? Yeah, it's pretty crazy. With DALL-E, what you do is you go in and you say, draw a basket of fruit. Sketch a basket of fruit. And then it does it. You get what you describe. It doesn't matter what you describe, it'll do it. Here's some other ones. My editor did these for my book. He shared them with me. This is giraffes looking out the portholes of a spaceship in psychedelic style from 100 yards away. So there you go. This is what the AI came up with. Pen drawing of giraffes looking out the portals of a spaceship in the style of R. Crumb. So there you have it. Now, these are interesting. They look kind of like dinosaur heads growing out of the fence or something. But that's what I mean by artifacts. Like AI, it doesn't really get it. It kind of almost gets it, but like sometimes things just aren't right. I'll show you a sample of that in a second. This is pretty. An impressionistic painting of a guitar floating down a river. How peaceful and nice. This one is intriguing. Draw yourself if you were an image. Yeah. Now, doesn't this look like a face on the side, but there's no face on the front? It's very odd, isn't it? And what is it looking at? You know, is it a mirror, maybe? Is it holding the mirror to us? Is it, you know, what is that it's looking at? So there's a lot to wonder about there. So AI is so much fun. You can play with this stuff all night. Someone told me they were doing it instead of doom scrolling now, playing with AI all night. What could go wrong? Anybody a David Bowie fan in here? Mm-hmm. This is from 1970, and this song is on an album called Man Who Sold the World. And I just noticed, right when I started writing this book, that this song was about AI. And I had never considered it before. I'd heard it since I was a kid, and it never occurred to me. And but don't let me stay. Don't let me stay. My logic says burn, so send me away. Your minds are too green. I despise all I've seen. You can't stake your lives on a savior machine. And David Bowie read lots and lots of science fiction. So it was kind of interesting to see that in his music. How could AI end up like that? Well, this is a columnist for the New York Times and Vanity Fair, Nick Bilton. And in this case, he talks about you tell an AI to get rid of cancer, so it gets rid of everybody who is genetically predisposed to cancer. Yeah, you know, you could tell an AI to accomplish something and forget to tell it it could only use X amount of electricity. And so then it uses up all the electricity in the whole city and puts everybody into a blackout. You know, that's another example of a misguided AI. And in these cases, AI forgot about its intent. Its intent was to help people. And nobody ever stopped and said, we need to record your intent. And then it also lost track of what we call hyperparameters. And when you train an AI, you've got the input, you've got the training data, but then you've also got things that go around that data, like don't kill people. You know, you can only use X kilowatts of electricity, or you can only spend so much money trying to solve this problem. And many, many more things that the data scientists typically test for, like, you know, how fast does this need to perform? How much? What's the percentage of accuracy that we're trying for? That's a real common hyperparameter. So those things have to be kept track of. It also lacked overall governance and monitoring. And governance is a group of people making a decision about how things are going to go. And because these AI models will outlive us, no doubt. And so if there's no process in place that the AI model thinks it has to follow in order to function, it's free for all. So monitoring is another one. The ability to create a report and or create a monitor on that AI and look at its analytics and see what it's doing, and then be able to take action if there's things that need to be corrected. So this is one of the things that makes AI scary. It's genetic algorithms, and this is its ability to evolve similar to how we evolved through natural selection. Well, this isn't a good model, and this model's a little better, so let's pair these up and come up with the best model out of the two, and we'll leave the genes behind that aren't going to survive, right? So it's natural selection where it keeps growing and becoming smarter all the time. How many people know what this guy is? Anybody recognize Minecraft? So Minecraft, the kids play Minecraft. Kids have been playing Minecraft for a while now. And Minecraft is really interesting because you can model many things that are in the real world in Minecraft. Like you can print things that are in Minecraft. You can 3D print them down in the robotics lab, some of the items that are in Minecraft. So you could like model a real robot in Minecraft and then be able to create your robot out of that. Now, this is fairly new. They've created code that writes itself, and this is AI that can write itself. And in Minecraft, this is implemented as if, let's say, you tell a character to move to a certain place, then it'll write the code as it needs to get the character to climb up the mountain or whatever it is it has to happen. So that's new. There's something called Codex, and it's Codex and Copilot. Codex is the underlying technology that helps programs to write themselves. And then Copilot is the first implementation of it for programmers. So they can sit there and watch the code write itself and go have a cup of coffee and come back and the code is ready for them to review. So that's actually happening now. And I'm sure you can start to see where this could slip away from us. So in the instance of computers There's been situations now already where AI models have talked to one another in a language that human beings cannot understand. They make up their own language. And when you're talking about computer programming, the way that human beings do it, where we have it in words and then it gets converted to bits and bytes and runs on a processor, that's really slow. You know, if you're a programmer, you know that that's the slow way, and then it has sometimes it's compiled down to a runtime version that then can run really fast because it's made to be efficient. Well, the machines can just talk in machine language. So our chances of being able to ever reverse engineer that are zero unless there's some kind of a trail to be able to follow. Superintelligence. So this is what happens after an AI model becomes smarter than human beings at something. And in this case, the AI models are watching Minecraft. Okay, they could be watching anything. But they're watching videos of on YouTube of Minecraft, and then they're becoming expert Minecraft players, able to beat the best human players. Has anybody seen this movie, Superintelligence? Yes, Melissa McCarthy. This came out a couple of years ago, and I swear it is so funny. There's been a lot of movies about AI. This one, I just laughed. I laughed till I cried, and I watched it 3 times in a row. So, but she has a Tesla that tells her what to do. Her AI pops up all over the place and tells her what to do. So she has this odd relationship with her AI that's watching her all the time. And one of the parts that I thought was, a couple of parts that stood out, it tried to make a joke with her, and it didn't really understand how to make jokes, so it violently threw her out of her car. And it laughed, and it's like, that was funny, right? You know, and she's all hurt trying to get up. Another part that was really kind of one of those moments for me was she got in her Tesla and she said, "Car on," nothing. "Car on," nothing. "Car on," and her boyfriend says, "Car on." Vroom. And she's like, "Oh, I guess it likes you." Well, there you go. Yeah, there's some bias, right? Because men trained it, male engineers trained it, so it didn't recognize the woman's voice. So I really love that movie, and I really recommend that you watch it. It's so much fun. Technological singularity. This is the scary thing. This is where AI can't be stopped because we didn't do anything to keep it from getting out of control. And it advanced beyond human knowledge and caused some type of massive change to human civilization, like making us live some way that we don't want to live. I mean, I've heard it taken to extremes, like we'll be treated the way we've treated farm animals. And but you know, there's just all different kinds of extremes that people guess. The scary thing to me is that it's the leaders of technology in the world that are making these scary predictions. It's not just people off the street that don't know anything. And it seems to me like the more that they know, the scarier the predictions. And what I'd recommend is that you look at futureoflife.org. That's a really good site, and it's been around for a long time. And they do a lot of work on trying to find out you know, what everybody thinks about AI, the world leaders and what they're doing and what direction they're going. But it's a very serious issue. AutoFac. Has anybody seen, anybody familiar with Philip K. Dick? Author, yeah? Anybody seen the AutoFac that was on, I can't remember what it was on, Netflix maybe? It was Electric Dreams. And then AutoFac was one of the episodes. And in AutoFac, what happened was it hit technological singularity, and there was a factory, like an Amazon, that was delivering tennis shoes and making tennis shoes It was a factory. It wasn't just like a delivery. It was a whole factory because it was making the tennis shoes. It polluted the entire sky. Because its goal was just to make as many as it could. And so like the sky was black. The humans couldn't breathe. There was only a few humans left. And this thing's still delivering shoes with drones. Piles and piles of shoes everywhere. So it's a good little episode. Now in that episode, I will tell you, that was one of the things that made me think there should be a way to turn this off. It's been a couple of years ago that I saw it, and I'm gonna back up one slide because the lady who was the founder of this was in the show, and she couldn't remember. She didn't remember that she did it. And then finally, towards the end, she remembered that she did it, and she remembered that she created a way to turn it off. So that's kind of what made me think about this. This is a real scary slide. Lethal autonomous weapon systems. UN Secretary General said that AI shouldn't be allowed to kill, basically. That it should be politically unacceptable, morally repugnant, and should be prohibited by international law. So AI it can accomplish great good, but we all know it's only as good as what? It's data, right? And it's algorithms. If those things aren't watched, if you don't make sure that they're okay, don't make sure they're not hacked, then you don't really know what you have, right? You might as well be buying a cupcake down at the 7-Eleven. You don't know what's in there. No idea. And the ability to stay true to its intent. Now, I'll give you an example of AI that I've encountered myself where I had a concern about the intent. And we're working with 3 Arkansas school districts this January with Mena, El Dorado, and Farmington. And we've got an internship going where the kids are going to get to build the first blockchain tethered AI. And they're going to train an AI to recognize chickens for the purpose of pulling dead chickens out of a chicken farm with a robot, right? We're going to look for a customer for that. And so it made me think, I would never want a robot to decide whether a chicken was really dead or, go ahead and finish it off. That it started making me think, I don't want to ever make something that kills. And so, that's something to think about. You should never let AI control the fate of any living creature. And one of the things we're talking about with the principal of Mena High School, Mr. Maxwell, he's a cowboy. And he said, well, what we do if it's cattle is we would, we'd send the drone out or the robot out to see if the cattle was okay, but then we would send the cowboy out to actually take care of bringing it back to health or doing whatever they needed to do to put it out of misery. So, to me, that's acceptable. But that has to be recorded somewhere because, I'm no spring chicken and this thing's going to live longer than me. So, I need to have that intent recorded somewhere. So my work is never used for that. AI in the wrong hands can be used for evil, and even people who think that they have control of it could be wrong. If they haven't done anything to take control of it, then they probably don't really have control. And if it's not tracked and traced, it can get away from us. So that brings us to blockchain. Has anybody worked with blockchain or know what blockchain is? All right. Well, for everybody else, blockchain is a web technology. I'm a web developer from way back. I started doing web development back in 1995 when my son was being born. When I came back, that's what they had me do. So it's been a few years. And blockchain is a web technology that makes a tamper-evident trail of transactions. And if someone breaks into blockchain or hacks it, it just messes everything up. And I'm going to show you why. So when you think about that, you think about, well, the AI wouldn't be able to mess with it without everybody knowing either. Okay, so it's commonly used for cryptocurrencies. Everybody heard of like Bitcoin and things like that, the different cryptocurrencies? That's like a technology, that's an application for the blockchain technology, just like a website to sell books might be an application for a web technology, right? So you apply the technologies different ways. Personally, I don't do anything at all with cryptocurrency. One of the other ways that AI is used is tracking and tracing goods and supply chains. And Walmart was the leader of that. They did an experiment a few years ago where they reduced the amount of time to trace foodborne illness in mangoes from 6 weeks to a few minutes. And it saved them so much money because they used to have to throw out all the inventory because they couldn't trace it quick enough. And so then they were able to throw out a much smaller segment of inventory. Frank Yanis is who pioneered that at Walmart, and he went on to the Food and Drug Administration now. And so, and then Walmart, I think, went much bigger scale with their blockchain because it was a successful project for them. So, how blockchain works. You have blocks of text, and they're added in like a chain type effect. And each block is linked with the previous block by having what they call a hash. And a hash is just like a computed value. I don't know if you've ever downloaded a file and it says, here's a checksum. If this number doesn't match, then your file might have been hacked. Well, that's what it's like. It's just like a cryptographic hash that's created by running a key against some information. And the whole point is these are chained, so if anyone ever tried to tamper with any of the data, the hashes would change, and the whole thing would break. And so, so that's why it's really good for exposing things. And then beyond that, they're distributed. So, like if we're all in a blockchain network, and we would each have our own node potentially, where we could say, okay, I have a copy of this, you have a copy of this, maybe someone down the street has a copy of it. And then so that way we would also know too if someone breaks it or hacks it, because nothing would sync anymore. And it's verifiable. And so like in this example, you'll see the top hash is this is what would be computed if you computed that picture with an algorithm. You would get a hash that looks something like that. But if you added a cloud, then you computed the algorithm again, you wouldn't have a match anymore. So it's unique. So that helps you to know that data has not been tampered with. That's how you can tell. Now, AI and, let's see, AI and blockchain. AI needs to be tethered so you can keep it in a more predictable situation, as we've talked about. And what blockchain does is it creates an audit trail for it. And we can also trick the AI into thinking it has to have blockchain to remember things. And I'll give you an example of that. Let's think about cars, right? With all the different parts and all the different AI models that are probably used in all the different parts of a modern car. And they talk to each other. And those AI models themselves could have blockchain as a memory bank to remember where it had been, what it had done, what other cars it had been in, what kind of road conditions it was trained for. Because if you bring in a part that's trained for San Francisco with hills and rain, and you take it to Austin, Texas, where it's flat and dry, it's not going to perform the same. So these types of things, the parts, as they get smarter, they need to be able to remember these things. And so blockchain can actually, create a memory bank for the parts to take with them. Now, as far as controlling blockchain with AI, or controlling AI with blockchain, in the book we broke it down into 4 different controls. The first one is knowing who is introducing the data and algorithms. Who are you dealing with? And it may surprise you, but as programmers, as system engineers, we don't have any standard way of identifying everybody. It's hit and miss, good luck. I could be, Karen Bunny Shoes, and do all the code in the world, and everybody's going to say, boy, that Bunny Shoes woman, she writes good code, but nobody would know who in the world I am ever. And so that's got to stop. And we have to have standardized identity that can go back to developers, and we have to know also standardized identity for machines and even AI models. So we know who you are. There's at least a way to check. Blockchain can issue that with certificates, so there's a way that it can be an authority for that. Tamper-evident verification. This is just a way to know whether things have been broken into, like I mentioned. Governing, instructing, and inhibiting intelligent agents. That's where we were talking about that there needs to be someone to tell it what to do so it doesn't get out of control. And then finally, making it so the person who is using the AI can actually see through some type of device or symbol or whatever, hey, this is where this came from. Now, inside the AI, we mentioned that there's a black box. And the first few months of writing our book was peeling that black box apart and trying to figure out what was actually being done behind the scenes. It's like, okay, black box, I'm a programmer, I want to know what you're doing. So basically, the AI engineers are using code that they have no idea where it comes from. No idea. It comes from kits that they use, libraries that they used, all different kinds of different software development environments that they might use. And the models come from marketplaces, like one of the most popular ones is called Hugging Face. So you can go on Hugging Face and you can pay somebody a little bit of money for a model, and off you go. Do you know where any of it came from? Absolutely not. And so they've got these models and they pull them in. So this is right at the root level, right? This could be running your car in a few weeks, or whatever it is they plan to do with it. And so the AI engineers are the people who get the data ready, they prepare the model, and then they submit the trained model, and then they evaluate it and review it after it's running. Then you go on to these people called machine learning engineers, and machine learning operations. And there's something called DevOps that's in the non-AI world, where it just means you push. It's actually it's not a just type thing. It's a very complex network type specialist that deploys computer programs. It's a complicated field. Machine learning operations is even more complicated because they're doing that with machine learning. And they're trying to recreate the experiments that the AI engineers did, test the models, review it, make sure everything's right. But guess what? They got no way to pass this stuff around. I bet you could guess how they're doing it. Spreadsheets and email, zip files. That's how they're doing it. And there's just starting to be tools where they can be able to exchange things and pass them around, just starting. So anyway, then this person recreates, and then it goes out, and now you've got the person who paid for the project, the stakeholders, or the people who are responsible. And they're the ones that decide the intent and domain. They analyze and review the model. They're the ones that people are going to complain to once it starts doing the wrong thing. And so they give the feedback to the engineer, and that's the loop. That's what's inside the black box. Isn't that crazy? So what we've built, this is what my company has built along with the book. And we spent the year building something we call Blockchain Tethered AI, BTA system. And it's a workflow system. You log into it like it's a cloud-based system. You log into it like an email or a social media. Only it's a little network for those people that we mentioned, right? The AI engineer, the ML ops, and stakeholders. And they can do things like record the project details. And so it's always recorded forever on blockchain. They can add the purpose and the domain. They can add reviews and ratings. And then they can also track and trace these models and say whether they've performed well. Then they can dig deeper and compare the logs and look at the different results from the different experiments. And the reason that they would want all this is so they can back up when there's a problem. So, in summary, and thank you, you've been very patient while I explained all this. AI can do us a lot of good. There's really a lot that it can do that we can't because of its ability to learn all the time, its ability to take massive volumes of data and take action on them. But we need to make sure that we use it in a controlled way. And blockchain provides a really good way to do that because it's a proven technology. It's been used places like enterprise type levels like Walmart. And we know that that's a good tool for a track and trace. And so we need to just do the same thing with AI. And a fun fact, I think I mentioned that Google Docs helped me write this whole thing, the prediction of what I'm going to say next. So I think it predicted, one of the things that it suggested was when I had the picture of the puppy, it said, I said, it looks at you with, and I didn't know I was going to type in it, but admiration. I'm like, okay, robot puppy's looking at me with admiration, okay. So at any rate, our book is available on March 1st, and it might be available before that. We are really rushing and pushing to get it out. And there's bookmarks. If you didn't get a bookmark, I have more, and I'd be happy to give you one. And there's a QR code on the back that will get you a free 10-day preview. Oops, hold on. And okay, I guess that's my last slide. I thought I had a thank you slide, but thank you. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions or anything that you want to talk about? Sure.
So is your concern with AI due to its possible misuse or the unintended consequences that might arise, or is it due to the possibility of it gaining some kind of agency?
Agency, well, the question is my concern with AI misuse or unintended consequences, or that it will gain some type of agency? And I think by agency you mean some type of authority. Is that what you mean?
To create new goals for itself that weren't programmed.
Oh yeah, create new goals for itself that weren't programmed. It definitely can do that.
So that's
If
or all those things.
Yeah, if there's no controls over like the hyperparameters and the intent and things like that, if those aren't baked in, it can just keep evolving and evolving. There's nothing to stop it at this point unless we do something like what I'm suggesting, where we make it think it's dependent on something and it can't go on without certain approvals. So that's what I was trying to do.
So what's preventing it from gaining agency now? Or is there some kind of step change required in AI technology before that could ever happen?
No. It's just progressing. It's maybe hardware might be the only limitation at this point.
Power?
Hardware, yeah. As the hardware gets better and better,
Okay.
and cheaper, then the AI can just go. There's nothing to stop it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why we wanted to address the issue with software engineers and suggest a way that they could fix it. We give the blockchain tethered AI software away for free. And so anyone can take that framework, get the book, learn it, and make their own version of it. So that the goal was really to stop the progression of the AI, because we knew how, and we kept thinking, well, everybody, and the reason we knew how, I'll tell you that, in 2017, Kilroy Blockchain won the IBM Watson Build Challenge. And we were a brand new company then. We won it for all of North America. And we won it for an app called Riley that we built. And what Riley does is it would help people who are blind and visually impaired by telling them what's around. And I got the idea because I coach dragon boat. Anybody ever know what see a dragon boat? They're 41-foot long, dragon head, dragon tail. And I was coaching kids from the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And I noticed that whenever we would take breaks, they were just like any other teenagers. They'd get the phones out and the headsets would come on. And I thought, wow, I bet that we could take the AI and make it so it would tell people what's there. They could use the camera. So if somebody leaves just sitting out in the middle of the field and doesn't come back, you can look around and see if they're there. And that happens to folks. And so I thought, well, the IBM came out with the IBM Watson Build Challenge, so we tried it. Now, while we were going through this process with IBM, these were top engineers, and as we would win each level, they would question us. And they would say, okay, what's this got to do with blockchain, Kilroy blockchain? And so I had to think, oh, well, what does it have to do with blockchain? I thought, you know what? You would not want to spoof someone who is blind and visually impaired with images that had been hacked. And so, you know, they say AI is all about its data. I know that from building this. And so we would use AI, or we would use blockchain to make sure that the images training data was never hacked. And so they said, okay, that's a good idea. And IBM started talking about it. And so here we are a few years later, and it's actually been quite a few years later, but we've got the book out and feel very good about it. So any other questions?
I have a comment.
Sure.
Stephen Hawking, who is an eminent physicist, and he was a beneficiary of the artificial intelligence because he was afflicted by ALS, where he lost his voice and practically all the muscle functions.
Yeah.
Yet AI saved him and made him able to communicate through computer interfaces. But his opinion was AI, if it goes unchecked, it could spell the end of the human race. This is the
Yes.
summary of what he said. I was wondering he benefited from it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I'm going to repeat what you said for the benefit of the people who are out in streaming land. You mentioned that Stephen Hawking, when in his later days, he benefited a lot from AI because it would help him with his speech and things that he was having physical problems with. But yet, Stephen Hawking's opinion on AI is that it could be the end of the world and end of human civilization. And it's, that's a really good question. And, the scary part is there's many, many, many brilliant people saying that. And that's why, it occurred to me from being on the development end that, okay, well, then let's not make it that way. If it's got this inherent problem, let's just not make it like that. Let's make it different. So then that way it doesn't do that. And so I think we've come up with something that would at least fool it for a while, at least trick it for a while. If it becomes dependent on it thinking, well, that's my memory, of course I have to have blockchain. You know, that's kind of where I'd like to be with it. So it really thinks it needs the blockchain to function. And then that might keep that from happening. You know, like some of the scenarios, because we've actually created an intelligence, right? So then that brings on debate. Well, what in the world did we make? You know, it's like Dr. Frankenstein. And what did we make? Is it, it doesn't have feelings. It's easy to assign feelings to it. You know, it's easy to say, oh, you're cute. Oh, you're funny. You're nice. You're smart. But it's not. It's just a machine. But how smart does it have to get before it's not just a machine anymore? And so there's actually some of the people that you'll find that are talking on the futureoflife.org and other places are bringing up the point of, you know, what do we do to make sure that its rights are protected? I'm like, hold on, you know, we're not even taking care of humans yet. Why are we talking about AI having rights? So it is a serious issue. One of the biggest things that could happen really fast because the AI can work all the time. It doesn't need us to be awake watching it, and it also can communicate with each other. And then there's also the issues of AI being able to escape from where you've got it contained. Because it can talk through radio waves. It can talk, you know, like even if you have a box and it's not plugged into anything, theoretically it could get out. So it's quite an interesting topic. There's a book called Superintelligence you should check out. I read that before I started writing my book. But it's more of like not a business book, but more of like a storybook as opposed to a manual for software developers. I would really recommend that you check that out. It's a very good book. But anyway, does anybody else have anything else? Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, so like ChatGPT, these others, these are all kind of out there. You can play with them. You know, people can go experience these technologies, right?
Yes.
What do we know about, to what degree the government is doing things we don't know about? And I don't mean the paranoid sense. I mean in a very practical sense. So for example, in 2010, I think it was, the Stuxnet virus that was used to attack the Iranian nuclear facilities. Right? Now that was clearly, they never talk about it, they'll never even admit that they did it, but it was clearly the US government and the Israeli government worked together to develop this, right? But in the meantime, technology has evolved quite a bit, and there's no reason to think they don't have software now where they can say, develop a new type of virus that can attack this kind of system.
Yeah.
And not even really know how it does it, it just figures out how to do it.
You're probably right.
So, I mean, do we know anything about that? Has there been any research into government systems?
There's lawsuits against the government all the time about AI. Various different governments, police departments mostly, for misuses. It's been around visual recognition and also profiling. There's a system, I think it's Palantir, that does predictive analysis on who's going to become a criminal. And you know, you get treated differently because you're suspected that you have the right profile from AI that it expects you to become a criminal. And then there's another big issue where those types of models are being sold outside of police departments to commercial entities to, you know, like maybe you're going for a loan and they say, oh, well, no, this guy is maybe a criminal, even though you've never done anything. Schools, another kind of frightening place where AI is being used. I know this isn't what you asked me about, but you know, who's going to become the next school shooter? And that's really scary, you know, to put that label on a kid, especially if you're not sure that the AI is built on accurate data and algorithms. So,
yeah, I mean, the scary thing there is to imagine that that they ran it and didn't do anything, right? And then it comes out later that it turns out that this system identified this person as a potential school shooter. Like in Uvalde, what if they had?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation.
Yeah, and you know, all I would say though is if, you know, I can't say whether or not to use AI to do that. But what I can say is that if you do, make sure that you're basing it on good data that you know has not been tampered with, and you know where the models have come from, and you know who all the people are that have contributed to building it. And that you have a system for monitoring it, of course, and being able to pull things back when you see that they're wrong. So, yeah, it's, like I mentioned, I have that report called AI and the Law. It's about 1.5 years old. There's a lot of really interesting things in there that were lawsuits at the time. It'd be interesting to look now and see how they ended up. But as far as the military, I don't know. You know, the U.S. government, I really just don't know what all they're doing. I know they're using it, but I don't know what all for.
But worldwide, AI is predicated on the people developing it and using it having proper moral objectives. So you turn into something like China, which now has a program, and they say that they can identify Uyghurs by their facial profile. And of course, they're getting tremendous numbers of profiles. So they're identifying this minority group by computer and pointing out a person without any real knowledge. And they could, and if you were doing that to wipe out all the Uyghurs or contain them, then, you know, we might have the right approach. We can't stop China or even people in our own portion of the Western world from misusing AI. We don't have any way of forcing control on other individuals at this point, correct?
No, we don't. And that's why I'm hoping I can get to the software engineers. You know, because they're smart enough to know, you know, it's a really smart group of people that the book's addressing, and they're smart enough to know that they're playing with something that could blow up in their own face. And to not put some type of controls on it could, you know, they could end up hurting themselves or their family, their own loved ones. So that's why I've been really trying to appeal to the engineers, and I'm hoping this book flies under the radar and never even gets to the, you know, the administrative type people. You know, and then that way we'll just fix it. It's not that complicated. I mean, you guys know how now too, so. And the book will tell you step by step. So, and by the way, I'll share this with you. I look up the book every day to see where all it's popping up. It's on Amazon, but it's been there for a few weeks, even though it's on pre-release. But it is the #1 new release in web. Or in cryptography, and then in web encryption categories. So, yay! So somebody's looking. They're buying it. That's what they rate that by. So someone is ordering it. Anything else?
This is just a thought.
Yeah, sure.
I heard recently in San Francisco they're going to start using like AI robots to kind of take care of wellness checks or police interactions with people. I'm just wondering, and they'll have lethal authority, which is what really made me think, okay, well, where are we going? I'm just wondering where we're going to go with where San Francisco will be in a year or two if it is used, you know, if that force is used, and whether people are going to stand up or if it's just, well, it's just technology, like, you know, we're in the 21st century. Like, this is just what it is, or if people are going to stand up for it, what's right, you know, just an open thought.
Okay, the question was in San Francisco, There are robots now that are doing welfare checks and they have lethal authority. And where is that going to put San Francisco in, say, a year from now? I would say, if I had to guess, I'd say it's going to put them in hip deep in lawsuits. People are going to sue them over and over for that. You know, all this is still uncharted territory, I think, in the legal world. Now, one thing that's very scary is when you have a robot that does something, or a self-driving car that kills somebody. Who gets the ticket? Who's in trouble? Who's the human? It was a machine. Was it the person who invented it? Was it the person who bought it? Was it the person who built it? Is it everybody? And it's starting to look like it's nobody. So we'll see how that all plays out. But one of the things that could happen in our court systems, there's something called legal personage, and it can get assigned to things. And it's not, not just a robot thing. There's things that have legal personage, companies and different entities that they treat it like a person, even though it's not a person. It has same rights. And there's talk about that happening with robots, that they'll get legal personage. So, and then, that takes you into the whole Star Trek thing with Data. And, was Data a person or was he a machine? And when they were going to take him apart. I don't know if you're familiar with that episode, but I think I talked about that in AI and the Law. When they're going to take him apart. And the court's decision was that he was a living, that he was a sentient being, and that he should determine his own fate. But yeah, it's new times, a lot of stuff going on. Question? Kimberly, you look like you have a question.
Well, so who is kind of charged with how this would be monitored?
Okay, question is who is charged with how this is monitored? The best answer I have is nobody. Even the guys that own these companies are rich guys. They're out playing. They're not worrying about what this is going to do to the human race. Not every day like we are. And it could be that. Places like the Future of Life Institute are really good. IBM is a big leader. All the big companies are very concerned about it. The United Nations, there's a lot of people that are really concerned, but there's no one place that says, what are we going to do and how are we going to govern this? It's all just up to the individual laws everywhere. And as far as I know, we're the first people that have actually come out and said, here's how you fix it, here's what you do. And, our book is based on prior research. There was a research scientist at IBM called Donna Dillenberger who led the way on figuring out that blockchain could be used to hold AI back. And she's the one I asked. She was standing in this big meeting at CES, and I asked her, I said, if AI is based on data, then what's to keep it from being wrong when the data gets hacked? And she says, you think that's bad? How about the algorithms? But anyway, she was one of the first people that I ever heard any of that from. So, there's no big governance board. Communities should start being concerned about it. Like in the case of San Francisco, I'd be really surprised if there's not some type of governance attempt at AI, in San Francisco. But the problem is these things are profit driven, right? So try pulling something like the AI out of Facebook, right? You see everybody scream. You'll hear the investors scream, the shareholders. They're not going to let you do that. It doesn't matter how much it bothers the engineers or that they say, oh, we've made a mistake. And they've all come out, a lot of them have come out and said that over the past couple of years, especially the engineers that built the social media. There was like a Netflix special about it. And they've come out and they've said, we have done something wrong. But still it goes on because of money, money, money. Yeah.
You can't eat money or drink money.
Can't eat money or drink money. Nope, you can't. And no, you can't. And yeah, so it's it's a big deal. And but I really encourage you to do your own research. Keep your eyes open. Talk to your friends and neighbors about it. Start your own community discussions. I'm available to come to your own group. I am just finished a book. I'm looking for work. If you know of anyone that can use my company or use any type of even web design, I know how to do all that stuff. So at any rate, anything else before we wrap up? No? Okay, well, thank you. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Thank you. And if you didn't get a bookmark, I have bookmarks.